Hey, welcome back. It's Artist Cycling. I'm Greg, and this is stage 6 of the Tour de France. We just went through a rather exciting moment. Crosswinds got up, peloton got split, Pogacar got isolated, and when all of that was going on, Mark Cavendish, our man of the 24 hours, happened to need a bike change, so he had some sort of mechanical, and went through a pretty tough chase back. He's just gotten back to the back of the peloton, having drafted on a bunch of cars, but most particularly on his own team car, which can get frowned on rather heavily. Now, he did have a teammate, Lysenko, drop back to help pace him forward, but when they got close and really in and out of the cars, he dropped him and came through. And it is a little dangerous to zip in and out of the team cars, catching drafts as you can, but what you can't see yet, but you will be able to see shortly, is he's come up next to the referee's car, which is the car closest to the peloton in the parade behind the race. And it's funny, it's so much easier for me to draw bicycles than it is cars. But then again, I love bikes, and cars are a necessary evil, right? Can't really see who's in the car, but as I say, it's the referee who rides in this red car and sort of keeps track of what's going on, including somebody maybe drafting too long after behind their own team car. And that's what could be being discussed. It was a little bit later, because I'm painting from a replay right now. So I know that there was a whole lot of gesticulation going on. Well, from Mark, but then again, as we've seen in one of the earlier paintings, actually one of the early videos for that matter, he can get a bit animated, there we go, sorry. Love stumbling over my words. So I'm still getting the composite, and notice, see, like, you know, part of this is the advantage of the camera angle, but I looked for it too, is, you know, you always want to make sure you get a dynamic thing, because remember, while I'm painting from a specific thing, and, you know, when you're making your art, if you set up a still life or whatever, you paint from something very specific. But the viewer, like yourselves, will never see the original that you're working from, just as you're not seeing what I'm painting from. So it's important that the artwork is interesting to the viewer, and so if needs be, you can move some things around to make things look better. Does that make sense? Did I say that right? So, call this arguing his case. Now, I do paint in real time. I have no idea this race is going on. This just happened. So I don't know if what I've told you is going on is what's actually going on. So, but that's, again, you know, I'm painting things in real time, live, and that's part of the fun / challenge of doing this, is I'm doing this without any idea how the race is going to play out. So there are times when I focus on something that turns out not to have been important. Tomorrow is a time trial, and that gets really tough because you never know who is actually going to win the day, because it's racers going one at a time against the clock. And I have no idea who's going to have been the fastest when it's all over. So, but we know from yesterday, at least yesterday, Mark Cavendish was the fastest. Although, until yesterday, he had occupied what they call the Lanterne Rouge. He was the absolute last person on the GC. Now he surpassed his teammate, who had just come back to help him out, by virtue of winning a time bonus by winning the stage yesterday. So, again, I have no idea if he's getting chastised for having drafted off of his team car for an extended period. And I think I said that is not allowed. So, now, the two things that can happen if he is penalized, well, it could get really severe and he could get thrown out of the tour. It was hardly that. That would have happened, could have happened, if he had been holding on to the car. People do get thrown out of the race for that. He did not do that. He's merely drafted off of his team car for an extended period of time. It is okay for any racer to draft off of any other car in their efforts to get back to the race, but not their own car. Seems a little arbitrary, but them's the rules, as they say. So I watch the tour on NBC, streaming, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to see it until late the following day. They do a rebroadcast at 2 in the morning, and well, I don't like getting up at 6. Staying up to 2 is also not really, or starting at 2 and staying up until 5 or 6 the next morning is equally unappealing. More so. And I love doing this live. So we're just working through the palette as always. Hopefully not forgetting things. It's always a risk. It isn't quite nice that the threatening rains from earlier, and there was even a few drops earlier in the stage, have dropped away, much to the rider's relief, I'm sure. It's already been a bit dicey today, mainly when things heated up in that little crosswind battle that died off. So now I'm just working through these greenery of the scrub brush along the side of the road. Little paint went where I didn't want it to go. That's what that little push with my finger was. Give that a little more texture just with some wet and wet brush dabs. A little bit darker green for back here. The trees in the distance on the back side of the field. A little unsure how I'm going to deal with that. Figure it out when I get there. So you may have noticed these thumbtacks, like I had to just shift the painting to get around that one. That started when I was painting after shoulder surgery, and I couldn't really use my left arm, and now I've found it kind of convenient. It helps hold the paper, because paper will coil as you get it wet. So this helps keep things a little flatter in case they bubble up in an unforeseen way. And now working into the darker, the grays and the blacks that are going to be necessary for the rest of this piece. It is interesting just how dark it is inside of this car. I'm actually showing the referee a little more visibility than he actually has. I can't see him as well as I'm painting, that I can see him. Again, that goes back to make the painting work for the painting. Forgot about Cav's bike is quite the paint job. Go search out his bike online. There are plenty of pictures of it before the start of the tour. It's been quite the focus pre-tour and throughout the stages on Cav this year, justifiably. Particularly when he gave everybody a scare at the start of the tour. When it didn't look like he would finish stage 1 inside the time limit. So I'm just about finished here. Remind you that you can see all the Tour de France cycling art at theartofcycling.blogspot.com, and there you will find links through to purchase these pieces, at my website, gregleach.com. And that's Greigleach. It's blessed with an unusual spelling of my name, which is great in the land of the internet and Google. So that's the piece. I appreciate you all watching. If you like what you see, please give a thumbs up, and love to hear what you think. Leave a comment if you'd like. Thank you all. See you tomorrow.